the mental pause that would inspire in me. To have the coterie get bloodthirsty. Thanks. Just a simple, straightforward thank you. And it has been a engaging past few seasons. It's been an engaging idea getting to know these characters, including all those that we've lost and those that we've gained, and experiencing their life, if only but secondhand. And that's because of you guys. Thanks so much. If there are no further questions, if there are no further asides, I'd like to say this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 11, Episode 4. The title of tonight's episode is... And this is literally one of the few moments where I did not actually practice my intro, i.e. reciting the name of today's episode. So did anyone pay attention to our episode list?
You really?
I just pulled it up. That's it. Yep.
Yes, that is exactly it.
He's going off script, everyone.
Yes, we are being a bit divergent, partially because of the timing of things. There were several points that I had hoped we'd hit, and me, of course, being slapdash and a little running behind in regards to prompting and getting busy with everything else that's going on. The move is well underway. When we last left our coterie, they were besieged by the Vitae-fed hounds and security. They had ensconced themselves safely inside Sophia's limousine while she and Silvio exited. The electric fence surrounding the home in the middle of the suburbs no longer a factor. The dangers that are hidden therein still remaining safely ensconced in the house. And then there is the very real aspect that whoever or whomever are actually inside the home has garnered and kept access to Dizzy's phone. Excuse me for a second, guys. Sorry for that aside. Small things popped up here. All matters taken care of. So with the dangers of the home and their connection to the coterie having been firmly established in our last episode, when we last left our coterie, the question beggars itself. What are you all preparing to do?
So we're all still out. We're outside of it, right? The building, I believe, or are we still in the van?
Right. So Silvio and Sophia were the only ones that had exited.
Yeah, we were checking out the dead dogs. Everyone else had stayed in my car.
We were trying to get Melinda to do a tracking spell for Vivi, but she didn't have all the stuff she needed, so we might have to go in cold.
Okay.
Sophia, for her part, will take off her $850 heels and hand them to Silvio, who will probably toss them in the car, and then she will wriggle enough to pull the gun out of her garter.
Lucio's going to step out, and if he sees Sophia drawing her gun, he's gonna get his at the ready too.
As an aside, it is the awesomest gun you've ever seen. It's all plated and engraved and looks like it's never ever been fired.
Do we have a picture?
It really does look as if it has not been fired. Not that it hasn't. It has been tested. It has been maintenance fired. It has been properly loved and cared for, because if Silvio is nothing, it is thorough.
Like everything else Sophia has, it kind of reeks of her wealth. So
Well, it seems since the whole spell idea isn't going any further, Melinda, Hester would take the gun that Vivi gave her back from Melinda and stick it like back in her waistband or wherever she had it, and then get out of the car with a sigh.
There's something intrinsic about standing. There's something intrinsic about the act of preparing for the unknown. There's something wholly human and living about the ineffable qualities of fear. And while the basic actions of standing against a thing, whether you do anything or not, often fills one with the ebb and flow of adrenaline and cortisol and various other biological chemicals being produced, preparing for that fight, flight, being dead, while the chemicals themselves no longer flow because of the impetus, because the chemicals are no longer coursing through your circulatory system. The mental aspects of them are still there. The remembered feelings of what this is like. The dulled, almost forgotten touch, fear sits there, hovering over everyone, holding several in place and causing the steps to come slower, causing the mental hyperventilation. The house that looks so much like its neighbors, far enough back from the road to have an expansive front yard, close enough to the street to be nearest the address. It is unremarkable in its finery. It looks completely at home in the location, the block, the street. The only thing amiss, the bloodstains and fur-soaked mauling inflicted upon the guard dogs, potential pets of the owners of that house.
Noticing the blood and the dogs, Esther will pause for a minute and look down and then reach, because she doesn't have far to go, obviously being shorter she is, and gets a good couple fingers full of the blood and then runs it across her tongue to see if she can taste for the person that ghouled the dogs in the first place.
You have the ritual or the ability to taste the blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could you go ahead and, because I don't have that system up in front of me, the roll for it. Go ahead and make that roll.
Wait, I'm seeing the last time I rolled, I was at 300. Am I still at 300?
Yes.
Okay. I went with blood sorcery and intelligence, by the way.
You a taste.
It's the same number.
Blood potency.
Her blood potency is 1.
Animal blood has no resonance. It doesn't have the feeling of anything except for the wildness of the beast. Even a ghouled monster fed on the vitae of kindred for years would have a significantly lessened effect. The taste of the blood would lose a portion of that vitality that's needed, that vitality that calls to the beast. You expect to immediately be able to sense and taste the kindred behind it, risking a bit of a small, light touch of bonding, the ability to connect with the kindred on the other end. And in the doing, Hesha is not in fact surprised. What she is surprised by it tastes as if she has taken her tongue and run it across a buffet, literally gliding over several different fatty, greasy, filling items, from the ice cream to the brownies to the cakes, down across the chicken and the coleslaw, the macaroni and cheese, and all of the many other easily prepared items, each with its own intrinsic taste, but having done so quickly, they meld together in this sense of satiation that should not be. She can taste the herbs and spices used to make the batter for the chicken. She can taste the lack of anything but salt and pepper in the mac and cheese. She can taste the lack of a roux being used. She can taste all of these myriad touches, like that old diagram of where taste buds register certain flavors on the tongue, but all at once. There's the sweetness from some kindred who is clearly older than Hesha. There's some hint of a kindred who was far younger and newer, the blood unpoisoned by time. And that's the disturbing aspect of it. Hesha is quite good at discerning the small, ineffable qualities of the blood, pointing in one particular location. What she tastes is a smorgasbord of powers and flavors and touches and kindred, as if some fool literally poured as many flavors of kindred into these ghouls as possible, which would mean that their loyalty should be to all of those many kindred. Means they should be protecting all of those many different powerful kindred. And that should not be a possibility. No man, let alone a beast, can serve more than one master.
So basically, it's a muddy mix, and even Though she gets the fact that they were fed by kindred, and that she gets some sort of idea of maybe who. It's more just like it's such a mix that it's hard to pick out one specific.
Yes.
She is going to kind of shake her head and say what she's thinking out loud. They have many masters, but that's near impossible. You should only be able to serve one. They were fed on the blood of several. Like, it's like it was changed every time, or like there was a collection of blood and the dogs were given that collection each time, so that it wasn't one specific bond, it was multiple bonds.
Is Lucio hearing all this?
Yeah, she's saying it out loud.
Perhaps it was a group effort. They were fed either as a prize or as an inconvenience of who will feed the dog tonight.
Or maybe it's that they have the dogs eat any problematic kindred that come along, like us.
I no, some of them are fairly powerful. So those ones I wouldn't think would be accidental meals. Maybe more. But then, you know what? That's kind of funny that you say that, because maybe it's a way of getting rid of somebody you don't want. But then, see, we dust when we're killed and older, so the dogs wouldn't have anything to eat.
Which is why they probably ate them while they were still alive.
Perhaps the dogs were the instrument of their demise.
Yeah, that's a problem. But either way, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm tasting. It felt more like a bond, but you could be right. It could be the reason that the bond is so muddy, because they also fed on whatever they could get.
Sophia nods to her ghoul, and as he whispers to her and says, perhaps the Sabbat, they share blood quite frequently.
Could be, but see, the thing that I'm getting at, the reason I did that is because I wanted to see what we were dealing with, and we were assuming this person is human for the longest, and we were going in thinking that we were dealing with a human that was trying to out us to the human world. But if they have ghoul dogs and there's multiple bonds and multiple kindred possibly being fed on, then it's more likely that this person is a kindred. Or like us.
Only one way to find out.
I had always assumed you were after another kindred. Perhaps I misread.
Well, yeah, like Lucio said, I guess there's only one way to find out. In we go, right?
Hey, I don't want to be a party poop or anything, but you think that's a good idea? You got vampire dogs, and you're saying that they get their blood from a different pool of you guys?
I mean, the dogs are no problem now, but who knows what else is behind the door?
You know, Vivi's good, but I don't think she's good enough to get past all of that. Not by herself, anyway.
Which is why we were trying to get whoever's inside to come out, so there's less unknown inside.
Look, if we want to scope out the place, we could try maybe sending another spirit in. And Lucio looks at Sophia. The last one was only able to tell us that death is in the air around here.
The problem here is that the spirit I have at my disposal is not going to cross the barriers of the hungry spirits that are here. I would need to pluck one of these spirits, and I would need something with which to do so, and there's a whole system that is required, and I am not exactly prepared to do so.
Wouldn't that front door close after the dogs came running out? The double front doors of the home right now sitting open.
Sophia will look that way and say, see?
They're inviting us in.
Step into my parlor, said the spider to the fly.
Well, I would be remiss if I did not follow the lead of my esteemed cohorts.
Lucio starts walking to the door, pulling the hammer of the gun back to ready it for the next shot. And he's also going to activate Oblivion Sight and his heightened senses as well to see whatever he can.
Okay. Well, in that case, would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your wits plus Oblivion for me, please?
I was about to type it in the wrong chat. 1 second. Four.
Is that all? As you make it to the edge of the door and look down the hall without completely shifting your gaze into that other spectral realm, what presents itself is the very real image of suburban antebellum. The hall before you stretches into the house, the darker recesses just out of easy view. There's a huge chandelier over the center of the hall, providing a flickering gas-lit flamed illumination, causing the shadows from the picture frames and the various bric-a-brac to dance on the wall as if there is a shadow play in the offing. The moment you shift your vision into that other spectral realm, it is as if someone has suddenly put on a halogen light directed solely at you. There is a wavering thick wall of spiritual resistance. There are about you as you squint and turn from the bright glare of the inside of the house, trying to peer past that wall and realizing that in fact you cannot. You look about you and see several score of dead and never have been spirits crawling and prowling around the yard. Some hanging from the house, looking at you jealously as you are able to enter the home. You are still on this side of the veil. They know intrinsically that you can somehow see them. It's hard to hide looking at someone who is missing the entirety of their lower portion, it having clearly been mangled or torn away by some large, ancient bit of machinery, or those who are missing bits and pieces of their arms, or eyes gouged out, or with a horrible open gunshot wound through their center mass, each bearing the signs of how they exited this mortal coil, letting you know which ones were the spirits of the dead and which ones were merely spirits, thought given life, beings that had never been in this world, who are no less hungry for the living.
Well, your spirit was right.
It knows better than to lie to me.
There's something blocking my vision when I'm using my Oblivion sight. And Lucio turns off the Oblivion sight, but he keeps the heightened senses up so he at least can see through that.
He knows with heightened senses the perfume of gas, the mercaptan that is used to perfume natural gas as it flows into the house. That telltale sign that smells like eggs, which is an additive solely to keep people from sleeping through a gas leak. Matching that scent and the decor, the burgundy on the walls, the Persian rugs, the large clock down the hall, is that feeling, that eerie quiet that the house is giving off. Every house of a certain age begins to settle, and it has creaks and groans like old men and women rising from their sitting. This place doesn't have those sounds. This place is devoid of much save the all too loud tick of the clock down the hall. If not for all the signs of a family home, the toys snuck amongst the bric-a-brac, the skateboard lying just to the side of the main pathway, it would be hard to believe this place is anything more than a museum on what modern American suburban life is like.
Once he smells the gas, Lucio starts to back away from the door. And because in his mind, that's an alarm bell right there, and he says aloud to the others, "There's a gas leak in there."
So the house is the trap, and we are the bait, or the quarry, I guess is the word.
Exactly. We set foot in there, that place is gonna blow. Almost assuredly.
The squawk of the speaker next to the door, would everybody be so kind of roll your resolve plus composure plus your DC is 3.
Is this something Unswayable Mind would help with?
No, it's not an attack.
7 with a messy critical.
It is not an attack. But it is no less distracting, no less disturbing. It is, in fact, as everyone was, considering a trap and considering what all might be, the sudden chirping crackle causes Hestia to leap nearly out of her skin with missing the DC. And Sophia?
It was resolve and composure.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It is considerably out of the clear blue, and maintaining your decorum, maintaining the steely facade is an impossibility, because as it crackles to life out of nothing, there's no electric sounds, there's no humming, no buzz. It's just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Silvio nearly shoots it. Hestia leaps back, prepared to do God knows what in her very tremureness. Sophia's fear response is at a complete antithesis to the cool, dead person that she has presented, the femme fatale. This is the response of something very much living, something very much warm, something that had all but forgotten the touch of fear. And to add kerosene to this already blaze, as Arsenio, who had not drawn down, suddenly has his firearm free, pointing much like Silvio from two different angles. Lucio, in his natural defense, his response, the gun would not be quick enough. The gun would be too loud. And in his response of choking down that fear, he doesn't respond as if he's afraid. He responds as if it is offending, as if he, his beast, finds the noise completely and utterly unjustly uncalled for. His reaction time, a thing to behold. The backhand smashing open the speaker box, the exposing of wires and the fritzing of sparks, the only remnant of him actually responding in the moment. There's a sudden pallor of anger hanging over his face, as if that was a step too far. It's a little hard to speak. You fuck my shit up. But the voice coming from the now broken speaker box. Riddle meet this Batman and women. And unfortunately, the speaker dies, leaving the question unasked, leaving the night once more silent.
I'm getting tired of these fucking games. We need a way in without getting ourselves blown to smithereens.
Sophia is going to back towards the car, holding Silvio's arm, but she is going to throw up binding fetter to see what she can see.
A quick second.
I'm not actually expecting to find much, but if there's something she can use to maybe communicate with one of these spirits of the yard, then she's going to use that.
Okay, go ahead and roll what's plus oblivion. There are certain things that are just naturally perverse, naturally working in antithesis to social and moral, ethical boundaries, things that are outside of taboo, even so far into that back spectrum of taboo as to be offensively beyond the pale. Looking for connective tissue, things that matter, glittering gems, and that would hold the attention of the spirits from beyond. Sophia realizes the most glaringly wrongness. The building itself, every brick, has been used or created as a tie to spirits. And while with the ability to see fetters, those small glittering gems that keep the dead connected with this world that we exist in, you can't see things that would keep them from acting on them. You can't see things that would keep them away, such as wards. However, there is a sense of foreboding, as if there is some sort of wind barrier, a wind curtain keeping the spirits from growing closer. It is beyond torturous. Torturing the living eventually has an end. Torturing kindred eventually has an end. Torturing spirits is the most immoral form of torture there is. There is no eventual end for them. They are even more truly eternal than the undead state that you even inhabit. It is a cruel person that endlessly, purposefully, actively, passively tortures the dead. The things that the Hakata as a whole get up to could be perceived as wrong by many, but it is never anything that is done 100% of the time, all for all time. And that's what this house is.
This place is fascinating. Were it not about to explode, I would want to study it further.
Cassia sucks her teeth and just yells into the house, "Look, we just want to talk. Other people want to kill you, and there's a gas leak, so you might want to come out. That's all we're gonna say. We can wait outside. All right, bye." And turns around and heads back towards the lawn.
Would you all no. Most technically Hesha does have celerity. Would you be so kind as to roll which plus awareness?
All of us?
Unfortunately, only Hesha has celerity. And do you have how high do you actually have celerity, Hesha?
3 dots.
Okay. And do you have I actually have to look at notes. I'm getting a little old, a little slow in my old age here.
I have Cat's Grace, Rapid Reflexes, Fleetness, and Blink.
You have a significant amount. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. So, Rapid Reflexes would give you the opportunity to not be at a minus for dodging gunfire. Now, you can use this to be aware of the shot before it hits. Would you like to do so?
Yeah.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to roll which plus awareness? In all of the movies from a certain period in Hollywood, there was that annoying ricochet sound of a bullet hitting stone and being sent off into space. It became the soundtrack to what everyone thought or thinks that guns sound like. Even being up and close and personal with them, as Lucio and um, several members of the Cody have been. It's hard to get past that mental programming that's the way that bullets sound. That's not the way bullets sound. Unfortunately, as you've all experienced more times than you would care to actually remember, hearing the sound of gunshots always occurs after it hits, especially when there have been shots exchanged from a distance. It happens so close that it often feels as if you can hear it happening before it does. You can hear the cartridge exploding from the barrel before it does. That is never the case. Bullets, especially long-range bullets, always land roughly around the same time you hear the shot. Hesh's exposure to gunfire has her tracking a fast-moving something moving in their general direction. You have the opportunity of potentially saving one person aside from yourself. Who would you choose?
I am going to tackle Lucio, like yank Lucio backward with me as I'm falling backward to get flat.
In the doing, there is a brief moment of watching the trajectory of the projectile. At this distance, at this speed, for a split second, you can just make it out in the air as the sound finally hits your ears. The explosive, lightly muffled sound of gunfire, or to be more exact, the lightly muffled sound of one shell, one determined, quick-moving shell as it whizzes past you and Lucio. That causes everyone to pause as you and Lucio tumble to the ground. Silvio, hearing the shot, immediately puts his body, a shield in front of and around Sophia. However, there's another large individual, a beefy side of muscle and reclaimed youth that is present. And that's the person that cried out as the projectile rocketed through them. And unlike in video games and movies and several other fictions, there's no clean little hole on the outside. There's no clean little exit wound. There's no doubt what took place, because as the opposite side of him explodes outward, he keels over, his lifeblood splattering the air, and a good portion of Silvio's mass, his black suit now stained a little redder than it should have been. Sophia's now bare feet, sticky with Arsenio's lifeblood. And Hestia and Lucio watching as the mountain of muscle, the ever loyal retainer, willing to risk himself, his future, and all that he has for his newfound family, falls.
There is a strangled sound of anguish, and Hestia lets go of Lucio almost as quick as she grabbed him, and she's scrambling over everybody to get to him, and kind of like, it's like chaos for her. She's like trying to put her hand where the blood to stop the blood from coming out, and she's trying to like drag him out into the yard so that he can't get hurt any further. All she's thinking about is no, 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 no. This is not fucking happening.
Lucio rushes over to help drag him, preferably behind the car, so that they have cover.
I assume I get pushed out of the way, but having some medical and just general science training, I'm going to attempt to assist him, but knowing full well that Silvio will stand in the way if another shot comes.
He's already scanning the distance because that shot didn't come from the house. It came from somewhere down the street, somewhere high. And he knows that if someone has one bullet, they typically have more bullets, and being able to attack from a secreted location is most unadvantageous to be the victim of. And as you all are working on Arsenio, who's taking point, who's taking lead?
Lucio is not good at medicine, so he's going to let Sophia handle this, seeing as it seems she's trying to help. And Lucio is going to try and scan for where the bullet came from, because he might not know where, but he has a bad feeling of who it is.
Hestia is pretty much inconsolable right now, so she is of no real use except for talking in a stream of consciousness to Arsenio, trying to keep him like alive, like don't leave me.
We have several things happening at once, as they tend to in such situations. Sophia, would you be so kind as to first let's diagnose how bad things are, and they are pretty bad. If Lucio had been or was less affected by the world of eternal night that you all exist in, a sniper wound or sniper shot of this caliber would have definitely changed his life completely. He may very well have been immediately one of the hungry dead near at hand. So, would you be so kind as to roll intelligence plus medicine? First things first, your standard DC. Lucio, while you're attempting to gauge where the shot could have come from based on your previous trajectory, how you all were moving back and away from the house, would you be so kind as to roll wits plus either firearm or stealth? If you're rolling firearms, difficulty is 5. If you're rolling stealth, difficulty is 6.
What you said, wits and firearms?
Wits and firearms or wits and stealth?
That is 6 with a messy crit.
There's some things that you should never be aware of. There's some things, some questions, some mysteries that should never be answered. One of those that should be answered, Sophia solves almost immediately. Thankfully, it was a through and through and done with such clear tact and skill that closing the wound with a influx of blood should allow Arsenio to survive this night. If you all can keep him here past the point of shock, he has an opportunity for continued existence. As it stands, you must stop the bleeding, which is a wits plus medicine, difficulty 4.
I am going to, because I have medicine as well, I'm gonna assist and give like a dot to Sophia.
And
All right.
she's basically barking orders. Press here. I need light here. Just it went through. It's clean.
Well, as clean as the explosive introduction of metal to someone's physical form can possibly ever be. And speaking of introducing metal to someone's physical form, there are gifts that come from being dead. There are gifts that come from having a rough and tumble living experience. And Lucio, based on sight of how the bullet tore through Arsenio, immediately starts gauging about how far, about how high, where would I hide, where would I take that shot from, where could that, and he sees it. There's a church tower, roughly 3/4 of a mile. Its tower visible, the cross on top of the highest of the tower is visible, which is not saying much considering it's the suburbs. So 3 stories, and you could have almost a clear view of the neighborhood. And that tower beneath the cross is clearly 3, maybe 3.5 stories above ground. The vents, the slats on the tower where the bell should be, you know you could possibly fit a person in there. There must be some internal structure, some space where a person can be inside there. And he's locked on. He knows that's where it had to have come from.
He points it out to Silvio. Up there. That's where they are. The fuckers.
Silvio hands off the torch and opens the trunk with his key fob. He removes the ugliest rifle you have ever seen and crouches, bracing himself against the back of the limo. And he looks towards Sophia, whose face is near rictus because there is such thick, rich blood present. And it smells absolutely delicious. And it's filled with so much power. Fucking ghoul has been well fed, well kept, and that blood, this blood, is filled with the very real touch of oblivion. It is all that she can do to not let him die, so that that power can be magnified so many more times over. Being there at the moment of death and being able to tap into that energy to capture not only that power released upon actual death, but the soul that it's tied to is akin to someone handing you a holy grail. It is power. There's always power in death and power from the other side of the veil, but this person, if this being exsanguinates right here, right now, the power you'd be able to tap into is such a rich promise.
Well, that takes some pressure off since now it's a win-win for me. But is he in shock or anything, or is he kind of with us?
He's with you. His eyes are fluttering with the shock beginning to settle in. His skin is cool and clammy, but there's a hardiness to him that speaks very much to what Silvio is. Not nearly as much of it. He hasn't been as he is for as many years, but there is a strength there. And you never counseled your binding fetter. So you see something else in the blood that most would not. There is a taint, because even in death, even as spectral versions of ourselves, humans are only semi-solid bags of liquid and bones. They're star jellyfish piloting a meat robot. But everything that they touch, everything that has touched them, leaves its mark. And there in the dark, inky black strength of his blood, there's also the touch of something else, something that has never lived, not something that's merely dead, not something that's an ambulatory corpse, but there's this touch of something that has never lived, as if he has been marked by a dark thing, something from the other side that has never had the opportunity of life, something that even now is there hiding in his blood. It's as if he is a fetter for that thing. He is the connection for it.
I will file that away in my interesting file. I will also drop Binding Fetter. She'll probably start in Italian and then backtrack into English and tell him, "Focus. You need to focus your blood. I'm sure your master has taught you. We need to move you before another shot comes. We cannot do so until you heal some of this damage."
And then comes the hard part, the part to which your beast is tantalized, watching the pain rocket through him. Because as tough as he is, what you are preparing to do and what Silvio has handed you the tools and implements for to close and seal the wound will be excruciating. And you spark the torch, and your beast hisses through you as the torch touches the flesh. It's electric heat, a thing that's easily managed because of what you are, because of your tie to the darkness. The allure of flame is very real. Your beast shines in this moment because it enjoys the cry of absolute, outright pain that rockets through him as you close the exit wound. You cauterize as much as you can so that the blood that is so tempting doesn't continue pouring freely from him.
She will bark at Hestia as he cries out to hold him. He cannot squirm, or it's going to be worse.
She does what she's told. She's holding onto his face and putting her very slight but pretty solid body kind of on to him as much as she can without causing him to bleed any worse. And she's looking him in the eyes like, "Sin, baby doll, you cannot do this to me. I need you to be able to stay and protect me and Lucio and his sister and his cousin, and we can't do this without you, okay? So don't go wherever this is calling you to go. I need you to stay here with me."
And then the shot. The ugly, huge rifle that Silvio is holding far easier than someone of his size even should be able to. It causes the vehicle to rock under the concussive force of it. And while the initial shell that took Arsenio down was a small thing which caused massive damage, what escapes the barrel of that gun is trackable and traceable for at least several dozen handfuls of yards as it fires up and into the air. The shell hits the building, knocking free about 35 pounds of brick and mortar. And he prepares to line up the next shot and fire again.
Lucio looks at Arsenio and the others, and he says, "Look, I can't stay here right now, not with how he's bleeding out like this. So I'm gonna go and take care of that fucker who did this."
And Silvio fires again.
See, go get the shooter. You are no good here. Go, go.
Wish me luck. And Lucio is going to, before he moves from the vehicle, he's going to throw up Unseen Passage, which I believe requires a rouse check.
It does, but no one can be looking at you either.
On second thought, Silvio is providing cover fire, so he's gonna risk it and bolt out and try and make his way towards that church tower.
Three-quarters of a mile. Does not have celerity. Several more shots would hit the building. Several more shots would eat away at the brick and mortar. Several more shots, which means even in Arlington Heights, with their relatively reduced travel time of police officers, for a live firing moment, for a live shooter incident, you know that you are definitely pushing the outer edge of arrival time. And you hope that Arsenio, Hestia, and Sophia, and hell, maybe even Silvio make it out of the situation before the police arrive. But blood is on your mind. Blood for blood. Damaged mind, I take you. The entirety of you. And it's a mindset that comes quite naturally. A vengeance that begins taking a hold of him. And finding the church doors open. And finding the vehicles in the lot clearly being in the upwards of $65,000, $75,000. There's a Caddy, there's a Lincoln, there's a Tesla, there's several other high price tag vehicles in the lot, in the church lot. And the church door is open. What does Lucio do?
Now he's going to throw up Silence of Death, the level 1 power, so that he doesn't make a noise while going in. What day of the week is it? Is it like a Sunday night by any chance? Because late night masses are a thing.
It is not Sunday. It is a Friday night.
That's problematic. And how many cars are there in the lot?
There are about 7, 8 cars in the lot.
Okay. He's going to proceed in, and he's going to have his heightened senses up to try and scope out any possible danger beforehand. His primary goal is making it to the top of that tower, or to
Stepping into the church with your senses open, with your eyes, ears, nose, everything about you reaching out into the world around you, gauging for anything that may be a danger, not a jump scare or anything like that, but anything that may be dangerous. The scent of gun oil hits your nose. The telltale signs and scent of guns having been fired hits your nose. And the cries of pain hit your nose. And the worst thing of all, scent of blood. The scent of people bleeding. And not one person, but several. For that much iron to be in the air, it is obvious that it is considerably more than one person. And the cries of pain, muffled though they are, fading though they are, create a situation. Be so kind as to roll 1/3 of your humanity from your unspent willpower, DC 3.
Fair warning, I have rather a lot of dice for this. And I'm assuming I'm including hunger?
Yes. No, you don't have to include hunger, but
Too late. Oh, wow. Would I be able to use willpower on this roll?
no.
Oh,
You
my.
can dictate you can take over and ride the red wave that washes over you, being awash in the scent of blood and the sounds of pain, cries of mercy. Or you can let your beast do all of the talking.
I think I'm going to... Oh man, this has been a while since I frenzied. I'm gonna try and ride the wave for this one. Try and direct the frenzy as much as possible.
Excellent. You walk into the church and there are several men, several made men, several capo regime, the creme de la creme of the everyday work-a-week mobsters. They look like extras from central casting for every B-level mob movie you have ever seen. They are spread across the church as offerings to some god of vengeance. Their firearms having clearly been discharged, their bones clearly having been broken, and the priest impaled upon the crucifix there at the center of the sepulchre. There behind the pulpit for all to see.
Okay. Number one, this confirms who Lucio thinks it is. I see one of two things that Lucio would do in this situation, which is pick one of the workers and slake his hunger off of them, or let that hunger drive him towards the cause of all this and slake his hunger off of that person, the shooter. If Lucio were in a more rational state of mind, he'd choose the latter, but seeing how he's currently riding the wave, just trying to minimize the destruction that it's going to cause, he's going to basically pick the nearest person and start drinking.
The cry of mercy and the cry of pain coming from such relatively easily discernible supposed tough guys. It's hard to deny. It's hard to turn away from. And so Lucio doesn't even bother. He and his beast are of a similar mind. For having defiled the church, for having defiled the faith, for having used this place as a center of criminal activities, both against God, man, and kindred. The price, of course, your suffering and your blood. Lifting the man to his lips, Lucio holds him aloft, his arms closing around him crushingly, as if he can pump more blood into his mouth by applying more pressure. His beak slobbers and slabbers its way through this man's existence. There's no amount of blood Lucio can take in this moment that would not result in his death. And unfortunately, that comes all too soon. As a few moments later, having slaked 2 portions of his extensive hunger, Lucio doesn't put him down, the base still slobbering, demanding more. And the memories of playing bocce ball on the courts at Sherman Park before all of the Schwartzes came in, eating at Pisano's down on Taylor, moving the family out here so that the boys can get out of their life. Doesn't have to proffer anybody up, doesn't have to move his sons into the family business. The divorce from the first wife coming at the cost of her boyfriend, who is now buried in the backyard of the family home 3 streets over. The careful grooming of his boys to actually inherit the real business that he was keeping them out of. Not just the criminal life, but kindred life. Having them go to school so they're smarter about things, and still tormenting them so that they are groomed properly, so they understand the true depths of pain. Then the dawn of rest. You were there when it happened. You knew what was going to happen. And the memories come, and the hunger abates. And as the gunfire starts, you're snapped back into the here, into the now. The cooling dead body. And Lucio's arms falling away. And as things fall away, Hestia, Sophia, you have managed to cauterize the exit wound, the powers of the blood causing the healing to happen. And unlike with Kindred, it is in fact a healing, not a mending, not the magic of the Tay washing over a wound and creating flesh in its wake. This is the very painful several months, several weeks of healing that will be necessary for him to survive, happening in an exceedingly small amount of time. Do both of you have an occult of at least 2?
I do.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no way that Arsenio had not been bonded to Lucio. There's no way he would have this much actual kindred vitae to force that healing so quickly. Has that much time passed with Arsenio being so close to Lucio that he is awash in kindred vitae? That he has more than his fair share in his system? And the stress that puts on the human body is immeasurable and incalculable. That much healing being done in such a quick, short period of time is taxing. And as Arsenio fades into unconsciousness from the sheer shock and pain of it all happening, what is it that you 2, you 3, you 4 do?
Does he look like he's going to be stable enough to move, I assume?
Yes.
And Sophia will, without even looking over her shoulder, bark at Silvio in Italian to move him in the car. The polizia will be coming. We need to go.
He begrudgingly doesn't even bother to actually put the rifle away. He slides over on his knees, lifting Arsenio into a strangely tender cradle and slides him into the open rear passenger door. He slides him in on the floor so that, one, he's more stable and not easily seen from outside, and two, he doesn't have to stand to do so. Moving back to the rear of the car, he tosses the rifle back into its place in the trunk, and rising to act as shield, begins ushering Sophia into the car.
Sophia will also look at Hestia and say, "It is lucky he was so well fed. He will live for now. We need to go."
Kind of realizing she's being addressed, her eyes, which are kind of wet and glossy, meet Sophia's, and she nods and doesn't need to be told twice. She is practically just as fast as she was trying to get to him in the car, like staring at him to make sure that he keeps breathing.
No one's late, but do you think it's a good idea to leave the other one out here by himself?
We can drive that way and pick him up, yes?
Yeah.
He closes the door, moves to the driver's seat, and eases away from the curb as if you guys are on your way to a nice Sunday drive, or better yet, on your way to church, not wanting to speed too quickly to attract attention. And from the outside, it looks as if you guys are simply on your way to a stroll into something normal, as if you're not heading to another crime scene, as if you're not heading to a place that he nearly brought down on itself from the shots from the rifle in the trunk. And much like Hestia and Sophia and Silvio and Arsenio, who are moving carefully through the streets towards the church, roughly 3/4 of a mile away, we too will head away. Take a quick 10-minute. It is now 46 after the hour. We'll meet you back here at 56 after the hour.
Cool. Silvio better have my shoes.
He threw him in the backseat. This bitch better have my money.
They're like $800 shoes, man.
Everyone back?
Present.
Yep.
Oh, while we wait for Lucio to return, where is Hestia and Sophia's current hunger?
Let's do that at 3.
Sophia's at 2.
So, while a prompt would not be necessary in regards to the beast. And no one's using any disciplines that would cause the hunger to rise or the beast to be unleashed. It is akin to being more than a little hungry and grocery shopping, with the blood coating everyone's fingers and hands, and the source of it sitting there on the floor between you all as you silently move through the neighborhood streets on your way towards the church. Where is everyone mentally with that, knowing that you are on the edge of complete release of the beast and it silently digging a hole for itself free of you both?
Definitely a bit of a tough spot to be in because the source of the blood is the person she's trying to save or that she wants saved. So while I could picture her like unthinkingly like licking her fingers and then realizing what she's doing and being horrified by that fact, it would probably still happen, and then she's like, she'll like sit on her hands or something, but that's where her mental is. It's like this hamster wheel effect of hunger, but oh my god.
Sophia is not going to let the blood on her hands go to waste for sure, but she's going to focus more on her intellectual side about the curiosity of the house and what's going on with the shooting and what has she gotten herself into, anything to basically not focus on the blood and the beast.
So as Sophia daintily licks up her fingers, divesting it of blood, in a mirror to what Hestia was doing before forcing her hands away from her mouth, the blood staining each of their lips, its source laying there on the floor between you. There's a elephant in the room. Kindred don't have to worry about certain little things. Little things like infections or a wound healing incorrectly. And while the initial tearing, the initial entering wound of most bullet wounds is healed enough to grant operational movement in the first 10 days or so, the biggest risk to the living with such wounds, if you survive the shock of them, is the infection. They require daily cleaning, daily medication, and even then, there are months before you know for sure if none of the infections have taken hold, if nothing has gotten into the wound. But in Arsenio's case, with the power of blood and the healing being done so rapidly, there is the very real fact. Blood, was the bullet clean? Did it hit something on the way through? Was the barrel clean? Was there anything in the area on his skin that could have gotten inside? And so forth and so on. There's something very fragile about living in such a world as this. And as you all pull into the church parking lot, the sound of sirens in the distance behind you. Lucio, we're back?
Yes.
Right. Divesting a human, a living, breathing being, even wounded of the entirety of their blood and the entirety of their life, it's not a quick thing. Even caring not one whit how much harm you cause, the fact that rationality has returned to you And you had the opportunity to witness a life secondhand through their eyes. Lets you know that Simon here, now falling from your arms, lived a full life. Simon here was also on the fast track to become part of the real family behind all of this, all of these trappings. While he was a made man, he wasn't a made kindred, and he was very close to being just that. The books were open for him. There was immortality in his future. And you hear a car pull into the lot outside, the crunch of its tires on the pavement, clear and distinct. Then you realize that you've been standing here divesting this man of the entirety of his life. And you realize how deep the Don's organization goes. Because he never had the opportunity to meet the Don himself and heard nothing but good things as to how he's leading the family and how he's rallying the troops and how what they're doing in the south suburbs and all of those other rumors and all those other details taken as fact. And you cipher through his life and yours. What do you do when there's a car pulling in outside?
He looks down at the now cooling body and just mutters to it silently, "I'm sorry." And then he proceeds to make his way up the tower to find that shooter. He's going to leave the rest of them here. Right now, Lucio is single-minded in his pursuit.
And as Lucio mounts the stairs, making his way up, Silvio leaves the car to open the back passenger door. What is it that you two are doing? Are you staying here with Arsenio, or are you going to try to retrieve Lucio?
I will look to Hestia and say, go get your friend. I will stay with this one.
She hesitates for a moment, kind of looking at Arsenio and looking at Sophia, and then looking out the door towards where she would assume Lucio is. And
I will treat him as if he is my own. Go.
bolsters herself or like pulls herself into contained, needing that strength of logic. And then she's out of the car and to the door as fast as kindredly possible outside of blink.
You've seen Lucio lose control, which isn't all that far from his normal daily interactions. You've seen what he can wreak, the havoc that he can cause, how quickly he can end a being's existence. And this very much does look like what he might do. Their bodies strewn about, shot and ruined and thrown aside, arms bent at odd angles, legs equally as damaged, the scent of trinitrotoluene in the air, the scent of mineral oil and gunpowder on the wan air from the church, and the priest impaled on the cross there just behind the pulpit of the sepulchre.
Actually, that's a pretty freaking good question. How far would she be able to get into the church?
What do you mean?
Are you forgetting her folkloric bane?
No, I'm not. She can't go into holy places.
That's because it's a church, so that's why I was asking how far
I know.
Get into the church.
No, that's very much should be on her mind because she's standing in a church.
Then she would pause for a second of what the fuck, and kind of glance around, like, why am I not repelled? Why am I not feeling like I'm on fire? And then, okay, well, that answers that. And then off she goes again, heading towards where she would assume Lucio went to go up to the tower to give him, I guess, backup. The whole priest impaled thing is not going to dwell on that. She can't do anything about that now.
She gets to the door leading up into the tower. Hears from the old priest, impaled. Oh.
Stopping to turn and look at him.
His bloodshot, hemorrhaging eyes, and the impalement keeping his lungs' ability to process air to breathe for him, clearly causing all sorts of internal issues. His weight causing him to drown in his lungs' blood. And still the attempt to
that tears at her, because while she knows the fact that she was able to walk in here means it's not a holy place, and it means that these are a bunch of poser ass Catholics, it still bothers her to see him like that. And the fact that he's still alive when she thought he was dead is bothering her. So instead of going straight for the door where she was heading, she U-turns and heads to the priest and reaches for him like she might like snap his neck, but she's like, it's really hard for her to do, so she's like holding onto his face, like debating and trying to give him a chance to get whatever it is he's gonna say out before she does what she feel like she has to do.
Would you be so kind as to roll intelligence and either etiquette or leadership?
And that's intelligence leadership, by the way.
It's not what you do, it's what you can get away with, is the number one rule and lesson of Kindred Society. To escape punishments, it's always better to be successful at completing something, of doing something. No, offering, bringing in a Diablo, bringing in someone who's broken the laws more obviously or worse. And there's just the underlying rules, especially when dealing with kindred power structures. You just have nothing to show for it. Not a God-blessed thing. And here is this clearly not as holy as he should be priest. And here is the sign and scene of a massacre. It could be chalked up to anything, but you all know that with enough investigation, very well could be proven that a kindred was responsible. And while the deaths are easy enough to say, or from a group of rivals, another crime family, another family as a whole, there's no way that any power that be would not see this for what it was. A kindred having lost control and done things that are traceable and trackable back to the kindred as a whole. And here's this unholy priest dying, a witness to what could have happened.
So are we assuming it would be a good thing that he's a witness or a bad thing that he's a witness?
Well, you have a human that may have witnessed a kindred in full attack mode. And if that kindred was Lucio, having arrived here and done this, can you tell me?
She leans in close to his ear. Tell me who did this, and I will speed your trip to the other side.
That's...
Did she hear that or understand it?
Mm-hmm.
What did he say? Because I didn't hear it.
The shadows.
Softly curses and just like clean, efficient snap and walks away.
And as the next snaps like kindling, Lucio, you enter the space at the end of the stairs, high in the tower.
I'd like to also say that I set up Silence of Death so that my approach wouldn't be heard.
You get to the room at the top of the stairs. There's a blanket set up, spread out over the floor. There's a small place setting card sitting next to the rifle. And a sense of impotent rage bubbles to the surface. It's impossible looking at this space, looking at this room, looking at the small care that someone wouldn't have been able to get here without knowing that it was. This is the result of reconnaissance. This is the result of direct, forceful, purposeful action. This is what pointing yourself towards a goal and not accepting anything but a semblance of success could do. It took a lot of planning, a lot of watching, a lot of surveillance to get here. And then your mind reeled back to last night's conversation. Yes, you were lured. Yes, you were pointed. But there was no intent. There was no intention to do anything. And you can smell it. You can almost taste it. The frustration you would have watching all of your carefully laid plans go for naught as first the dogs come running out, then the dogs expiring, then the trundling across the street towards the house, watched from here through that scope, and then everyone leaving, no one in tow. And if not for Hestia pulling you out of the way, you then perhaps Hestia would have been the only two hit. Not Arsenio, not Sophia, not Silvio. But from this angle, could have picked off either one of you all, either one of the group that were there. But instead, it was simply one shot. One, fuck you. One, you failed. And if not for Hestia, the bullet that is nearly, or maybe already has, ended Arsenio's life would have simply torn through you. And you'd have survived it. You wouldn't be on death's door. You also wouldn't be here. In this tower, looking on your handiwork. Because while there is a specific mind and hand at work, it is because of your actions that it is possible. And because of your actions as a group, leaving the home empty-handed, that now has laid Arsenio low. You don't even have to look at the card to know that it's a taunting reply, but you do all the same. Crouch and pick it up and open it. Six words written with all due care. And it takes you a second to realize that it was in fact handwritten. Those 6 little words. Why couldn't you finish the job?
Lucio is going to search for where she went. And he's going to pull up Oblivion's sight to see if that can help him.
And as he begins peering into the void, downstairs in the limousine, having slapped him awake, a little more cognizant than he was fighting to come back to, Sophia looks down into Arsenio's face. So similar to Silvio, so similar to Lucio's. The blood is clearly strong in all of them. It leads back to one singular progenitor, one singular paterfamiliaris that spawned all of the many different arms of the family, like trees on some sick tree that sprouts branch after branch after branch, some being grafted on, others sprouting miraculously from what was formerly dead wood. Looking into his face, and he looks up to yours, his eyes trembling, barely managing to stay open. The thing that they let loose, let other things loose. I can't stay up, I'm sorry. And his eyes flutter, close. But his voice doesn't hold the telltale hint of an East Coast upbringing. Doesn't have the telltale stereotypical note of American Italian and an Italian American accent. It sounded like something else. It sounded like there was something else there. You know, Sophie, you sure you should be doing that? I don't think they'll be too happy if you let something else out of that guy.
I needed to know. Besides, I did say I would treat him as if he was my own.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not your fault they didn't ask what that means, but they're not too horrible. I don't necessarily want to end them unless, of course, you tell me I have to. Arsenio was a good guy. Good for, for a fucking Renagoomba. He wasn't bad.
Well, he will live, most likely. You say you know him. Was it a good thing to let him live?
I thought eventually I'd have to kill him anyway, because, he's particularly loyal to the Castiglione family. I didn't know that he was not still in the Don's employ. Things have clearly changed.
Well, we'll deal with that when we have to. But I would keep one eye on our backs if I were you. Not that you don't always.
Just wonder how are they able to pull, a close cousin to the Castigliones into their service. While Amartha might be dead, it ain't completely dead, especially not for guys like this.
Well, apparently this Lucio is Castiglione by blood.
You know what that means, right?
That he may be a problem?
Yeah, most assuredly. All of them got tempers. All of them, the worst arm of the Putinesca family as a whole. Them and the Tories.
Yes, but as we know, that is an easy string to yank upon to get desired results. I think this partnership will be fruitful. So for now, we will continue to pursue it.
And it's good with me. We still got a little bit of things to settle as far as that blood is concerned. But, how'd he get your number?
Who?
Wojcik. The Don.
He runs the clan locally for now, through violence and no actual merit other than the strength of his arm and his bullets. It is not unknown that I have come to town, so one phone call leads to another, yes?
Yeah, but didn't he not have that much support, considering they were willing to let him rot in jail for all those years?
As with many things, we are a fractured family. Some people probably have rallied behind him out of fear or laziness, and there are others of us who perhaps think it might be wiser to have a more steady hand at the wheel.
But with these guys already working their way out, are we going to cultivate another inside man to help? Or
If we can.
I got a couple ideas. I heard that Capone is still knocking around, or at least his gang. And then, there's that whole arm to work with. Plus Montesano's bishop is here. And several others.
I feel for the moment that as long as they do not make matters any worse for themselves and perhaps make a show of good faith, that perhaps I can spin things in such a way where they will be probably punished because that is a foregone conclusion, but not in a way that brings any sort of finality.
Okay, so we're going to let them take their licks and then we'll put them to work.
Well, I will advocate on their behalf as well as I can, but, there's a case to be made that this fledgling, if her sire is dead, she's not really a part of the Camarilla, and therefore they have not interfered with our interests, correct? I mean, they can't be responsible for every lick in town.
Yeah. And I hear this Jackson kid's got some new ideas as to how things should be. He's a little more lenient than he should be, making allies based on the power of his personality instead of, his ability to do the mumbo jumbo.
Well, there is another string we can pull, because I'm certain he will find me more agreeable to deal with than the dog.
And that's hope. And speaking of hope, Hester, you exit the stair into the room where Lucio is crouched, staring into the corners of the darkness around him, seeing all of the many lost souls that have crossed over in this location, seeing more of the lost souls that were brought here to be crossed over, all of the lives and families adjusted based on the actions that have happened here, all of the many deconsecrations this church has had.
She doesn't really want to interrupt him at the moment, but just kind of looking around, she sees that Vivi got away. It's pretty clear who did all of this. And speaking to Lucio, we don't have a lot of time. The cops are on their way. She's not here, so neither should we be. I killed the priest. He can't talk.
There's no indication of where she could have gone. Asking
Could have gone, did go. It's a little difficult considering that she had at least a 7-minute head start. And 7 minutes doesn't seem like that much time in the world when you can disappear into the shadows to avoid people seeing you, when you can easily just hop into a car and drive because no one expects you or no one's looking for you at that moment. 7 minutes is definitive. Three-quarter of a mile shot in the middle of the night, and police adding to the congestion, adding to the chaos, providing perfect cover for those who are quiet and silent to slip away. And it's the fact that she toyed with you. The fact that she told you exactly what she was doing. And spoke in metaphor. And spoke around what she was doing. A place to lay low out of the sun. Right here beneath their eyes, well, above their nose. Right here watching it happen. Right here having led you into specific action. And it's hard to not go back to that last night of Vivi living. We are stronger together. We need to start making things happen together. And then the vitriol, the pain that she pushed forward to antagonize a response out of you. And the fact that if she had been here that whole time, she could have taken that shot at any moment. She could have attempted to put you all down at any moment. But it was only as you were exiting without the target.
Estia, with her gone, do you think there's a chance that we can go back and get that blackmailer? Or do you think that ship has sailed now?
We don't have a lot of time, but we need a win. Otherwise, we are going to have to lay low, and they both will be in the wind and fuck us over. So, we gotta get a win somehow tonight. But we can't stay here.
Then let's bag ourselves a win. Vivi's gone, and I don't think I know where she went, unfortunately.
She won't stay gone, you know that.
I know.
We just gotta plan for it. Like she told us, we're better together, right?
Yes.
It's us against her.
Part of me wants to see if I can, like, piece together something from what she said. Because I feel like there's a hidden meaning behind the... like, a more literal meaning of, like, what she meant by a place to hang her head where they wouldn't notice. But... right now, I think Lucio's more focused on getting a win for them tonight. Because Vivi is gone, and it seems there's no way to track her. So, with that in mind, Lucio will turn to Hestia, give a quick nod, and start heading down so that they can at least go after one person without getting shot.
Well, that's the funny thing about timing. Everyone knows that old aphorism, that old chestnut, that fortune favors the bold. But there's also another one, that pride goes before a fall. And even as backwater and suburban as AHPD are, the many calls for gunfire, the many disturbance calls, has the area a high of activity. The large dogs, the Alsatians, the American Alsatians that were fed to huge immenseness via the consumption of kindred vitae in the street, is enough to have the investigation full bore. Unlike kindred bodies, who eventually ash, or ash almost immediately, or decompose at such a rapid rate that actual forensic data, if you don't know what you're looking for, is almost impossible. The dogs, unfortunately, left bodies. The ripped up fins showing signs of a terrorist action in the making. The gunfire, the gunshot, something that woke up even those who could sleep through parades. It is a horribly busy street. Question is, do you all sit and watch? Do you stay parked at the end of the block and watch as everything happens? Or do you do something else?
Lucio is going to ask the others real quick. So, I might be able to sneak by them and get into the house without the police seeing. But I don't know if any of you can do that.
No, I'm just fast. And can see things that aren't there when other people can't see, but We need to find the outlier who doesn't look like a cop or who looks like a house owner and single them out if we can and get them away from the crowd. If you can go in unseen, then that would probably be the best bet.
You think they're hiding in the crowd?
If it was your house, would you have left the cops to go traipsing through your shit, or would you kind of fade to the background but keep an eye?
Good point.
We do not know what they were told when they were called about the gunfire, so leaving the car so close to the scene is not wise.
So we circle to next block and cut through.
We may need to go farther than that. I mean, they will canvass the area, no? They are, I assume, as good at their jobs as other metropolitan areas.
Yeah, maybe, but true. Okay, so as close as we can stay without giving a problem, but close enough for him to get where he needs to get quick enough without being seen. And I'm gonna need you to stay in contact somehow.
Did anyone bring an earpiece with them by any chance? Did Lucio, actually? That would be a good question.
Did Lucy bring what?
Some kind of like earpiece he could communicate with others with.
No, he didn't get a chance to, remember?
If I leave my phone on, well, number one, it won't work, and number two, it might cause noise that might make it hard to sneak by. So I think maybe our best bet, we're gonna have to make a sacrifice here and forgo that communication, and we'll just meet back up.
It seems if this is something you are bent on doing tonight, then yes, you're going to have to bank on fortune favoring the bold.
If we wait, he'll escape, if he hasn't already. But we have to do this now.
That's all I'm saying. Just reconnaissance. If you can get him to himself, okay. If you can't, then we come back, we leave, we lay low, and we think of another plan. But don't take any crazy chances, please.
Alright, let's do this. Lucio's gonna...
Hey, I don't want to interrupt, but Ms. Rossi definitely has enough space that you all can lay low. And with a street full of cops, there's a good chance that whatever invisible voodoo that you're gonna do, you're gonna attract attention. None of us are close enough to help. Whatever this was, it clearly didn't go according to plan. Just my suggestion that an operation requires reconnaissance. But to do the reconnaissance, you need to be safe. And right now, judging by your man's being in the shape that he's in, I'm not 100%, and I barely know the guy from my past interactions. Several instances where we had to work together. So I can only imagine how you feel, or might feel, with your man's being laid low like that. So, you want to do it? Go ahead, but I'm just saying, if you're acting out of desperation, there's a good chance they're going to end up the same way no matter what.
He does make a valid point. And also, to add to what he said, let me ask you this. This Vivi, she seems to know you all well. What would she expect you to do in this situation? Because I'm going to guess it would be what you are planning.
Oh god, she's right. Are we that fucking predictable? You know what? Maybe they're both right, or maybe they're all right. We should lay low and regroup.
So we're just gonna
And
let him
actually
slip through our
plan.
fingers again.
You forget we have the information of all his information, so there's not a lot of places he could hide. And there is also the fact that we took out like 6 teams worth of his best mercenaries. That's a lot of money he lost, and that got eaten when we killed them. So he doesn't have much of a security force left.
We don't even know who we're dealing with.
Whoever they are, they don't got that much money to keep tossing away.
And that would be another reason to not go in blind. Time is on our side. For the most part, I realize that your situation at the moment is a little different. However, there are alternatives to running blindly into the fire. At the end of the day, you will do what you are going to do, but this Vivi seems to be your primary problem at the moment, and right now she is the cat, and you need to become the cat and turn her into the mouse. And doing what she expects you to do will not do such a thing.
Fine. Hate having a change in these plans on the fly, but fine. We'll let cooler heads prevail.
And looks at Lucio, taking his face and turning him towards Arsenio laying there on the floor pale, and holds it so that he sees this. That's why we're changing the plan. Do you realize how close we came to losing him tonight? And I say we because I know you're ignoring it, but I fucking love him, okay? Deal with it. We almost lost him.
He will need more of your blood, too.
I know we almost lost him. And I left him to get Vivi, and I fucking failed. And now you're telling me to basically fail all over again and let the blackmailer get away as well.
It's not failing. It's not failing. The whole plan got messed up, and she's mad because her plan got messed up too. Remember, she expected you to show up here by yourself, and we threw a fucking monkey wrench into it. So she's mad, okay? She's mad. So she failed, we didn't fail. We're not going to fail. We just have to be better. Counteract her bullshit.
I understand.
We can do that.
I understand that you feel the way you feel at the moment is because the passions are running high, and I hate to use the analogy because it's very tired with our type, but in chess you do not win or lose the game on one move. It is a series of moves. It is a very extended, drawn-out game. You do not lose on one move. So you have made a sacrifice tonight, but the game is still afoot.
And what about what you told us earlier, Hess? About what happened at your meet?
Deuceable let us go because he knew we were going to try and recover our honor and fix this. He's putting faith in us to fix this, and he doesn't want to see us meet the final death. He's trusted me when nobody else did. He's put faith in us to do what nobody else could do. Do you know how much we've accomplished? This little bullshit, the shelter, we're the shelter. People fucking have spun so many folks tales and fucking lies and truths and half-truths about us because we've managed to do things nobody else has done. And they put faith in us that we're going to fix this. Yes, we're probably still going to be punished. Yes, we're probably still going to have to deal with bullshit. But he wanted us to go. He wanted us to get away, me and Melinda, so that we could do this, so that we could fix this. Granted, yes, it looks really bad right now, and yes, it's all Vivi's fucking fault. Well, actually, no, not entirely, because they got Clyde, too. And heaven knows what the fuck they've tortured out of him. Remember how much Clyde was around for? Shit that he's done that could still get tacked on to us.
I remember.
We need to get this all sorted. We need to go in there strong and together and have fucking proof that we've handled what went wrong and can fix whatever the fuck Clyde is gonna tell them without giving them more shit to hang us by our Buster Browns for. So yes, it's important that we cut the head off the snake and not let them catch us before we finish this. But we do at least have some time to be smart about it. As long as we can lay low, and we definitely can't go back to the fucking shelter, which I hate saying because you know how important that place is to me. But if we have a place we can lay low and at least plan better, we should take it.
Fine.
And Silvio is right. You are welcome to sleep over at my place, as it were. Your camarilla, they may come knocking to ask, but they will not come to take, because that would cause problems for everyone.
And I think it's the one place Vivi doesn't know about. Alright. Sounds like a plan. At this point, Lucio looks over at Arsenio. And he says, I'm sorry I left you. And he's going to cut open his wrist, and he looks at Sophia. You said he needs some of my blood, right?
He used much of what he had to sustain his own life.
Alright. And I'm going to give him some of mine.
Be so kind as to roll a rouse for me, please.
That was the wrong button. 1 second.
The beast does not rise, does not grow closer to the surface of you. It is perfectly satiated, laying in that deep, dark savanna of shadow where it waits for its opportunity to pounce once more, his head lolling gently to one side, having a severe, drunk, full, complete moment inside you. And even as you summon the weight of the beast forward, you need to vest yourself of a considerable amount of vitae. The limo slides from one shadow to the next along its way back into the city proper, moving into the underground parking structure. And we draw to a close. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for a lovely episode. Take care, guys.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night all.
Thank you for the session again.
Thanks.